Hello. Today I will be doing something I used to do some things like this. This is just for like a documentation purpose on my end, I think. Because when I woke up, I had a very strong urge to not only record the video or record my like a voice memo of what my dream was, but to also do a YouTube video of it, so that's what I'm doing now. So it started with me and my sister, but it wasn't my sister, it was an old classmate of mine, and I won't name her, but I see her a lot on my Facebook feed, which is why I think she was in my dream. She was my old classmate, but I knew she was my sister. My sister was doing like a pottery thing. She had like a block of plastic and she was cutting it up, and I told her, hey, if you put that in the kiln in the oven, it's going to melt because it's plastic. And she was like, oh, okay. In order to fix that, I'm going to put the plastic in a bowl that's filled with ice, and then I'm going to put it in the kiln. And then I was like, that's stupid, that's not going to work. And then she was like, you know what, you're right. And I think the reason why I thought of like this detail was because I was watching like a doll tutorial, and the doll was made out of plastic, like a transparent plastic. That's the first scene, and I'm in my old house, and in front we were doing this on like the cabinet in front of our mirror. And while that was happening, my mother was there, or actually she just kind of appeared out of nowhere, as one does in dreams. So she appeared out of nowhere, she was doing her makeup, and she was young in my dream. And I remember in my recording, I was also young. I think I was going to school, and my mother, who's a teacher, she was also going to school. She was going to work. So she was doing her makeup, and then she talked to us. And I think she kind of invited me and my sister to go eat with her. And then I was like, I don't want to do that, because I had like general feelings of, I guess, resentment. I was like, I don't want to eat with you, you know? That's what I was feeling. So kind of after that we separated. And then, as one does in a dream, it just changed scenes. So it changed to a scene, and we were suddenly in like a public park that we used to go to, and it was dark, it was nighttime, and we were outside. And suddenly I kind of separated from my mother, and then my mother was gone, and then I was eating, I think maybe with my father or my brothers, and I was sitting on top of a hood of a car or something, and then suddenly in front of me was my sister and a bunch of different children. And it was dark, by the way. They were outside of the park, and there was like a fence around the park. So they were outside of the fence of the park, and then they just suddenly huddled around and formed a circle, and then there was a pentagram. And then there was a pentagram. The scariest part was they held hands, and they started pulling out cups of wine/blood, and then they started drinking it, and it was all a joke apparently. My sister and I was like, you think this is a joke? Da, 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 da. And then she kind of was just like looking at me, and I was like, this ain't funny, girl. And then it changed into a scene, and it was our old house again, and there was like a gate, and I could like see like an aerial view of the gate, and there was this man. He was removing his shorts. He was unbuttoning the button, and then he was looking directly at me while he was opening his shorts. And then I was like, oh my gosh, because my sister was there. My sister and the children she was with were there, just trying to get in. I had locked the gate, but with a, yeah, I don't know what it's called, but I'm gonna put it there. So I locked it like that, and then I was like, just climb it to my sister, because obviously there was this man that was trying to get them. So My sister just climbed over that. The children came first and then her. I was like, okay, and then I closed the gate and then I saw my dad and our neighbor and one other man. I don't know who the man is, but there were 3 of them outside, and I saw my dad. I was like, Dad, help us, help us, help us. But he couldn't hear us. The man that was trying to remove his stupid pants came over and tried to climb up the thingy, because it was like climbable. It was like 3D, I guess. And then he tried to climb it up, and I was like, oh no, you can't come inside. I just pushed it away, and then it was another change of scene. And then at this point, we were behind like the mall that we go to often, and there were a bunch of cars. And it was nighttime as well, and then there were cars, and my entire family was there. Me, my younger brother, my younger sister, my father, my older brother, and yeah, so that's 6 of us. And then my dad and my sister went into the cars, and then I just knew. It was kind of like a known fact that these cars were going to hell, and I was like, what the heck? I went towards the hood of the car. The cars had actually already left, and my mother, by the way, was there. She was very worried, and she was like, oh, what are we gonna do? We can't like save them. And so I went in front of the hood of the car, although the cars had already left, with my dad and my sister. And I had actually, before the cars left, I had actually looked at my brother, my older brother, expecting he was gonna come there, and I was like, oh. And there was like a subtext there that because like we prayed for him a lot, he wasn't gonna go to hell. So yeah, there was like a subtext of that in the dream. Again, cars had left, but I jumped in front of another car, and then my mother was like worrying. She was like, oh, what are we gonna do? And I was like, we're gonna save them. And then she was like, no, but if you go to hell, we're not gonna get out of there. And I was like, we're not going to hell, we're going to heaven, and we're going to speak to God, and we're gonna plead our case. After that, the car drove away, and the driver of the car, although actually the person was in the passenger seat, and it was either my younger brother or my younger sister, but I had just said that my younger sister was in the previous car, so it was just very confusing, as dreams do. So we drove off, and then it transformed again. It kind of looked a little bit like Scooby-Doo, kind of. It was giving like map, because suddenly it was aerial view. I wasn't there anymore. I was there, but I had a character. I was a white man with glasses, and I think he was blonde. It's giving a little bit like Milo from Atlantis, I guess, but not really. It was like it wasn't a drawing, it was like a real person. And then there were, I think, 8 other people there. And we just kind of transformed into this group, and then we had to go to the temple of God. There were only 3 people allowed to go into the temple. The 3 of us went into the temple, but there was one person in the group, because there was 8 of us, right? There were 8 of us, and the person in the group was like, why are the 3 of you going? And I was like, that's because God told us to, because there was, again, subtext that was what was needed to happen. Yeah. So we went into the temple of God, and then it looked a little bit like Egypt, because it looked like Egypt, period, like the pyramids and all that, and like a Scooby-Doo mission there, because I had watched this film called Fountain of Youth. Anyway, I went into the temple. The 3 of us went into the temple, and then we were walking in together. I could see, again, it was aerial view. I could see us walking, opening the doors, struggling a little bit, opening the doors. And it kind of felt a lot like Baldur's Gate, if you're familiar with that game. So we went into the doors, the 3 of us. And then at some point we separated, and then I went into this other door, and then it opened, and there was like a corpse wrapped in like, kind of like a mummy, yeah, like it was like wrapped in whatever, and there was a painting, and it started to melt, and then the 2 other people that I entered with came into that room, and then there was suddenly a jewelry box, like a jewelry box that I have in my room, was there, but it wasn't small because it's just like a pencil case, but it was big. This was subtext, but also verbatim. Like, there was kind of like a voice that said, like, you have a mission, just do what I say and don't question it, or something like that. Like, don't worry about it, you know, like, don't worry about it, just do what you're told and then move on, you know. So we were just tasked to get what was inside of the jewelry box. So I opened it, and there was a bunch of rope, and at the very bottom there were jewels, but we only got the rope, and then that was it. Like, we just had the rope in our chests. And then the room started to transform into my old house again. Underneath the stairs, there was like the voice of God saying, okay, now get these animals. So one by one, there were 3 of us in the room. So each of us, they would, like, animals by 3 kind of came out down from the stairs and towards us. And then there was like a fear that, oh my gosh, what if these animals attack us or something. I was just, again, comforted by that voice of God saying, like, it's okay, you're not going to be attacked, don't worry about it. And I think the first animal that I got was a blue parrot, and then the next animal that I got was a Wolverine looking animal. A blue parrot, I gave it to my sister because the person that was taking care of the animals was my sister, although it wasn't my sister, you know? I knew it was my sister, but it wasn't my sister. So I gave the blue parrot to her because she had another blue parrot, and they were like pairs. They were like mates, yeah. And then I received like a small chick, I guess, and it was black and it had like white on the chest. After that, when we got the animals, we were just holding them in our chests, and they were just looking at us, and there was kind of like a subtext of amazement that these animals weren't attacking us when they were wild animals, in fact. After that, it went into like a montage of like us rebuilding the city, and then it became clear that, oh, this is why we were chosen, because we were the only ones that could rebuild the city. Like, I was a builder, and one of us was taking care of the plants, and one of us was taking care of the animals, and that's why we were chosen, because our vocations were very important, and those were the only tools that we could have to rebuild the city. And for me, there was like when I was already awake, I realized that, oh, that it was kind of like an affirmation that it was about my job, because I do music, and sometimes I feel like I had actually been looking for a job prior to having this dream, so it was like, it's okay, like, you're doing the right thing, like, you have the right vocation and you're on the right path. So that, I felt like that was a confirmation or an affirmation of that. There was a commotion, and I think it was the same guy that doubted the 3 of us and going to the temple. He was kind of like, oh, there's like an animal, and then it's like rabid and it's attacking people, and there was an animal. Sure enough, it looked kind of like a dog / a wolf / a fox, you know, an amalgamation of that. And the guy had been kicking the fox thing away. I was like, oh no, don't do that, because it's just an animal. But he was like, no, you have to get it away. And so the first time the animal was kicked, it was just kind of like, oh, okay, I'm just gonna sleep somewhere else. So the animal just slept under kind of like a metal thing or whatever. And then after it was kicked again, it was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna defend myself. So true enough, the animal became like feral and whatnot. So I didn't want the animal to attack the human, because that would also just cause more commotion. So I remember very vividly that I got on the ground and I rubbed my face on the dirt. I remember that scene. I could kind of feel the dirt also, just to kind of like show that I wasn't going to be attacking the animal. I basically just scooped the animal into my arms, although the animal was still like "Rrr" and feral and all that. The person that had been kicking it was reeled off, and so I had the opportunity to scoop the animal into my arms, quite like what I had done in the previous scene when I was in Egypt / my house. Obviously, it took a while for the animal to calm down, but when it did, it looked at me and it cried. And when I had woken up, I felt that the message of that was that even animals long for a savior, and even the animals pray to God for someone to save them because they're also suffering. So yeah, after that, I woke up. As I had mentioned in the beginning of this video, I just had a strong urge to record it. So I did. I got my phone. I woke up, I got my phone, and I took my phone and I started recording, and there was a lot of static. There was a lot of static that the recording was going red, and I was like, shh. And I was just I remember going hello. I'm remembering now. It's going hello, and there was like static, and then I could kind of hear someone replying hello, and I was like, that's fine. And so I went into it, just started recounting everything, and I remember going to a part where, because I knew that when I woke up, this was a dream that I had to relay to my dad to kind of tell him about my relationship with Jesus and how I want him to also have a relationship with Jesus. And I was worried that if I would tell him this, that he wouldn't believe me, that this was like the message of that. And so I remember when I was recording, I went, please believe me. And the recording went red again. It went red, and it was garbled, and something replied to me, and it said, we believe you. And I could see, like, from the static, it was like, we believe you. Like, it turned into letters, we believe you. And it was terrifying, obviously. After that, I was really scared, and I tried to go back to sleep, but something like pulled my hair from my bed, and it hurt a lot. And I realized I hadn't tried to go to sleep. I was trying to move, and I was trying to declare the name of Jesus, but I couldn't speak and I couldn't move. And then something was trying to pull my hair, and when I finally was able to kind of move a little bit, that's when I actually started to wake up. So that part was a dream within a dream. And this had happened to me like 2 other times where I couldn't move, I couldn't speak, and the setting was always something was trying to make me feel afraid, and something was trying to subdue me and trying to not get me to profess the name of Jesus. So yeah, that when I had woken up for real, obviously I was still a bit scared, and then I was like, I'm still really tired. It was really early. It was like 5 something, and I tried to go to sleep, but I could feel kind of like a gentle nudge. It wasn't scary nudge like pulling the hair like in my dream. It was a gentle nudge of just like, hey, wake up, record this because you're gonna forget. So I did. And true enough, when I recounted it for the first time to my sister, I forgot a lot of things, so I was very grateful to have that recording. And again, as I was recording that for the first time, in the silence of like 5 a.m., I had just a very deep urge to record it and to post it on my YouTube channel, which is what I'm doing now. Now, it's been, I think, a few days, 4 or 5 days since that's happened. I don't have that urge anymore, and it feels a bit odd to record this. And it's like, I don't have a point for it, other than, I guess, documentation purposes, but I'm still going off of that feeling that I had when I had that dream, when I woke up, and everything was still fresh. Yeah, that's all. I just feel like I really have to record this and document this and put it here, so I am. And yeah, that's all. Goodbye.